How is the Hamilton Commission work going so far? There's an update?
I don't necessarily have an update for you. What I can say is that there's constantly a lot of work going on in the background, and the goal is to have something to deliver. Hopefully, I think it's June or July. I've been on plenty of commission calls. That again, the goal is to make sure that this is not just like any other commission. It's something that actually really delivers, and we're able to kind of come up with recommendations, understand what those barriers are, and so you can fully address them and create pathways for minorities to come into STEM subjects.
Next one to Andrew Benson, please.
Hi Lewis. Listening to you earlier talking about if I want to do another year, people might be thinking, oh, is his motivation as high as it's always been in the past? Is that the case? What's driving you this year, and where's your head at the moment on whether you want to continue beyond the end of it?
Well, I'm fully invested in this season and in delivering. I still love what I do. I think going back to earlier on, just generally in a fortunate position that I don't have to commit to multiple years. So I chose to have a 1-year deal, so then I could see how the year goes and where we're at mid-year or towards the end of the year. Who knows whether we'll be still in a pandemic, and yeah. So, but it doesn't mean I'm not committed. I'm still very, very committed to the sport. What I'm really focused on is trying to make sure that. Last year you all wrote some really great reports. I think there was a lot of great discussion around this diversity issue, and it still remains an issue to this day, and it's not going to change overnight, but what's really important is to make sure that we are actually delivering and actually taking action, and I'm really, really proud of my team here, who I'm already seeing steps that we started taking last year, particularly towards the end of the year, and starting to see that progress, little by little, and it just takes one step at a time, of course. So that's kind of my driving force this year too, to make sure that we continue to push for accountability, and on top of that, hopefully I can deliver some good performances.
Scott Mitchell next, please.
Thank you. Hi, Lewis. On a similar subject to what you're talking about there, how important was the charitable foundation in putting together your 2021 deal, and how important is it for you that Mercedes buys into this vision and desire that you have? Because I can imagine it must be a lot more difficult to do what you're doing if you were in a team that was a hindrance to that rather than an ally.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And going back to, as I said, I'm very, very proud of Mercedes for being open-minded to change, and really not just taking the smallest of steps, really taking a step back, seeing what we can do. We've done a real deep dive into what we can do here at the not only at the factories but back at Mercedes-Benz. And so for them to be open to putting a foundation together and really putting some money towards pushing for real systematic change within our own organization, I think is fantastic. And if we really do what we're planning to do, I really think we're going to create and open up pathways for young minorities to get into STEM subjects, and I'm really hopeful that in the future we see it just being more diverse, because it works out better for everyone.
Next one to Alex Kalinauckas, please.
Thanks, Bradley. Hi, Lewis. As you said earlier, we are still in the pandemic, and it looks unfortunately like it's going to be another season, another year of significant restrictions for us all, Formula One restrictions on how it can operate. Unfortunately, you now know what it's like with that experience of unfortunately missing a race because of COVID. Are you going to be doing anything differently this year, and adapted any of your plans in terms of how you keep yourself safe in your bubble, and how the team's going to work, things like that? Thank you.
That's not really been discussed, and I don't really know what I will be doing differently. of course, safety is going to be key, and of course, I do not want to miss a single race this year. So I think we did 99% of the time, or 99.8, whatever it was last year, was pretty spot on in terms of how we conducted ourselves, and we just were really unlucky. It's difficult to be 100% safe, as you know, but it'll be I would imagine, reduced traveling. It'll be a lot of time at home in a small bubble like everyone else is working on. That's kind of it for now, but I will coordinate with the team what is the best way forwards.
Neil Kingston up next, please.
Yeah, hi Lewis. What does success off track look like for you come the end of the season? Are you able to paint a picture for fans out there, please?
What's success off track like?
Yeah.
So non-racing, non-performance, like, I think it's working on partnerships, it's collaborations. I have, in the past, I've particularly like at the beginning of last year, collaborations with Tommy Hilfiger. I've had designed a clothes collection that I got to be fully hands-on and really get to design everything with the team. So it's a lot of a learning process of that. I got to push it to be sustainable. For example, the last collection was 80% using sustainable materials, and some of them were 100%. And so that's, for me, when you get at the end of the year and you see the result of something that you've been working on, whilst, you know, alongside something else that you're fully devoted to, that feels successful. You know, that for example was unisex. It was open to everyone. Last year, I started off the year, and you know, I made a post. I didn't know what the reaction would be. I wasn't really expecting anything back, but I was really kind of blown away to see the response, and then kind of the steps that were taken after. And as I said, now I'm back at my team. I see already change in the system and plans being made, and that for me is success in the background, where you're actually impacting people's lives.
Ian Parks next, please.
Thanks, Brady. Hi, Lewis. Hope you're keeping well.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. Lewis, I can imagine one of the small downsides to signing a one-year contract is that as we go throughout the course of the season, you're probably going to be asked about your future for next year, going into every single Grand Prix. How are you going to stop that becoming a distraction, becoming an annoyance, and you being able to focus solely on your goals and what you need to achieve this year?
Time will tell, I guess. I mean, it's not like it's my first rodeo. I think I've been in this position where at least I've been asked the question for a period of time. So, yeah, I don't really feel pressured in that sense. I mean, naturally, I have continued to have a huge belief in and always bet on myself. In terms of, I know what it takes to deliver, and I think I have an extraordinary relationship with Mercedes that's incredibly deep, and I think there's more than just this racing that we will probably end up doing together. As you're already seeing with this foundation, there's a lot of great things that we can do moving forward. So that will be a constant discussion through the year, I'm sure. And in terms of whether this is where I want to continue, if this is the road that I want to continue down, it will come to me, I'm sure.
Rebecca Clancy next, please.
Hi Lewis, firstly congratulations
Hi.
on your knighthood.
Thank you.
Should I address you as Sir Lewis?
Yep. I'm kidding, you don't have to.
You mentioned the one-year contract, obviously, and I just wanted to ask, on track, we've spoken a lot about off track, but on track, is there anything in particular that has to happen? For example, if you won your 8th world title, would that mean you stepped away? And if you didn't win it, would that necessarily mean that maybe you wanted to stay on a bit longer to continue and try and get that 8th title?
It's a good question. I think what I've made a real important decision in my mind is that I don't want that to be the deciding factor. I got into racing because I loved racing, and I think that's got to always be at the core of what I do. Like, if I don't love racing, if all you're going for is accolades, if all you're going for is titles, I think you can kind of, I don't know, I feel like I could potentially lose my way. So it's of course, it's the ultimate dream, but I'm not really. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the deciding factor whether I stay or keep going. I think it's more whether when I put that helmet on, I still have that smile when I leave the garage. It's whether it's going back to, do you enjoy it? And last year was a really tough year for everyone, including me. And but I think there was some really impactful moments. Will that be the case this year? We'll see. Will I enjoy it as much? We'll see. I mean, I'm excited currently, so I'm sure I will. So yeah.
Great. Next one, Suleiman, please.
Hi Lewis.
Hi.
We know that all cars this season will be generating significantly less downforce from the rear floor. Can you share any insight as to how that has affected the balance of the car potentially from the work you've been doing on the simulator so far?
Well, as you may or may not know, I don't really do simulator stuff. So I have not done a lot of laps on the simulator. Maybe I'll be guessing I've maybe done 30 laps or something like that. The problem with the sim, for example, is we've got a new tire this year, so they can send an idea of what the tire model is, but we won't know until we get to the track and we test the tire when we get to Bahrain, and then I'll feed back the information of how the tire behaves through the corners. Then it can update the sim, and I really kind of need to be here to update it to say yes, that's how it feels at the track. So right now it's a kind of guesstimate of what the tire might feel like. Also, the aero package has shifted, but that combined with those tires, I don't like to take too much from it. So we have lost rear downforce, and that can play a significant role, especially with the tires dropping off in performance. Also with these new Pirellis, they're more reliable, or supposed to be more reliable, but they have less grip. I think they're probably around 0.8 off the last year's tires. So undoubtedly the rear of the car could potentially be sliding around more, and more thermal degradation this year. So you might see more stops potentially, but that's all guessing really. Maybe others have lost less downforce and maybe they'll be in a better position.
Phil Duncan next, please.
Hi Lewis, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Just wanted to ask you about some comments Wilfried Zaha said recently about taking the knee before some Premier League matches. He felt that it's lost its meaning and that he wanted basically to stop doing that. I mean, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Is it something you intend to carry on doing before races this year, which is something you were quite proud about last season? Thanks.
I mean, ultimately to each their own. I think everyone has to make their own decision. I think it's a symbolic gesture, and I think that at certain times it can be really impactful. I think we're entering into another year. At the moment, it's not been decided what we'll do, but I think we're all meeting when we get to Bahrain, so I'm sure that'll be part of the discussion with Stefano, for example. And I don't think it's the most important thing that everyone goes and takes the knee. I think it's more the action that we take in the background, And it is true at the moment that what's really important is that things pass and things die down. It's important to continue it continues to be an issue that affects my day-to-day life and so many people out there. And I think that it's really important just to continue having that conversation, going back to that accountability thing, really continuing to hold uncomfortable conversations with people, because change is possible and change is needed. So we'll see how we can collectively work together to make sure we're more leaders, we're leading more in this sport, and it's not necessarily having to be taking a knee, if you know what I mean.
Charles Richards next, please.
Hi Lewis, just relating to that, you said you want this year to be a year of action on diversity. Can you give us a sense of what form that action will take? And also, how important is it to you that your fellow drivers get involved in it?
In terms of the other drivers, I mean, it ultimately is down to them what they decide to do. I think you saw last year there was obviously a mixture in terms of some of us taking the knee and some not, as opposed to sometimes you've seen in other sports where everyone was united together, I think. But again, it is down to choice. It is down to education, I think, is a part of it. What I want to see and what I'd like to see is create an opportunity for people that, and what you saw in Austria, for example, a young black girl on the podium for the first time in 70 years, that created an awareness. Particularly young black girls and girls in general, I think, saw that that's an actual real possibility to go into becoming an engineer, and sparking those kind of those kind of reactions, and actually having for example, Mercedes is now partnering with some of the schools in London and creating, just so that they're putting attention elsewhere, creating a bigger pool and a bigger opportunity for people to get into those STEM subjects that perhaps weren't previously done. And what I'm not aware of is any other team firstly doing that. I'm not aware of any other team acknowledging that is even an issue. And those are things that I feel that need to change this year, and it goes back to that accountability. We can all do more. A lot of these brands that we work with are sell cars to people from all different backgrounds and make their money from people from the outside world. I feel like from inside it needs to reflect the outside world.
Okay, next one is
hi, Luis.
Yeah.
Yes, hi everyone. I have a question. Obviously, you are the hyper favorite. Mercedes is the most powerful team. You are in the peak of your career. The doubt is this year Alonso is come back, and we have the doubt that what Spanish driver will be near of Mercedes, Carlos or Fernando?
Which one would be nearest to
Yes, which one? Bigger rival of you? Yeah.
I really don't know. I think the Ferraris obviously were previously strong. If they can get their engine right, I heard they potentially have a new engine. Maybe things will turn around for them. So yeah, I don't particularly have an opinion on either. I think it's great that they both have, I think, strong positions, and be interesting to see how they perform in terms of consistency and deliverables through the year.
Okay, I have only one more. Do you think it could be a problem for Fernando, the age?
The what?
39 years. It could be a problem for Alonso.
You'd have to ask him that question. I'm not there yet, so I don't know what problems comes when you get to 38. Isn't he 30? Isn't he 40?
39.
39. Yeah, I'm sure he's fine.
Okay, final question then for Chris Medland, please.
Thanks, buddy. Hi, Lewis.
Hi.
I noticed that through your social media channels, you've been active at certain times over the past few months, but there was no real acknowledgement of your new contract or really talking about the season that was ahead, or even I think the knighthood when that was announced. Was there a specific reason for that? Was it just a case of kind of trying to shut off from certain things after how intense last year was?
I think it's the shut off at the end of the year, kind of taking time away from myself. It wasn't the easiest of breaks. I think it's also, I continue to be kind of conscious of what's happening in the world, and posting pictures and celebrating of things such as a contract being signed is kind of not really important to me, and that's not really a message that I want to be sending out to people who are losing families, who are losing relatives still, to who are struggling in pandemic. That's kind of just not where I'm at. So I just kind of kept to myself. I was focused on my recovery, because it wasn't a quick quick situation and get myself back to full strength and getting the deal done, and working on some personal relationships that I have. So yeah.
Great. Everybody, thank you. We're going to have to break there. Lewis, thank you very much for your time as well.
Cheers, guys.
I look forward to speaking to you all from Bahrain over next weekend. Thank you.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
Yep.